The left is siding with illegals, attacking ICE, and fighting to let non-citizens vote. Republican Kelvin King is a graduate of the Air Force Academy, Air Force veteran, and conservative businessman. As Georgia's Secretary of State, Kelvin will put Americans first, root out corruption, clean up voter rolls, and restore confidence in our elections. The other candidates had their chance and failed. Republican Kelvin King for Secretary of State, leadership Georgia voters can trust.
Pro-Trump warrior Steve Gooch won't just cut property taxes, he'll throw them straight in the wood chipper.
Frankly, these crazy property taxes are un-American. I'll tear them to shreds.
Steve Gooch for Lieutenant Governor, toughest tax cutter Georgia's ever seen.
What happens in Georgia gets revealed one by one as the facts are unsealed. From the pit comes what they don't want you to see. When the daily nugget of truth is dropped with your host, BKP.
Hey folks, how are you today? I'm your host, BKP, and you're watching BKP Politics on voiceofruralamerica.com. It's good to be back. I've been out on the road, my friends, getting tossed out in the street. I don't know. Anyhow, so I went to 2 or 3 events, tried to gather intel for you, the voters out there. That's what I do. And we are back today, Monday morning, April 13th, 2025. Last Wednesday night, I was in Tuesday, I was in Jackson County, and one of our viewers there said, when I go to a video and then come back, my volume is down, and then it starts creeping up. Well, I produced the show by myself now, and so sometimes I don't see the volume meter able to keep track of it. So just do me a favor here as we power through these programs. Email me, send me messages, text me, whatever, on any technical difficulty. All right. Now, so let's start all over. I'm your host, BKP. You're watching BKP Politics on voiceofruralamerica.com, the network, the program, the host that you can buy advertising. Okay. You can buy advertising. You can you can be a paid sponsor of the show on our Substack. You can send us donations, but you cannot buy the host. Not for sale, right? And you can't buy a narrative on the show. We don't support candidates or just come right out and say, go vote for a candidate. I can, from time to time, tell you who I may vote for. I've done that in the past. We're not there yet. We're in April, just a couple weeks away from early voting. But I say that because the social media world, the uglies, okay, the bots have surfaced. The bots are out there. They're out there big time. And the uglies that attack daily, and I'm used to that. If you say something this way, they accuse you of a campaign paying for it or whatever. So I do not go to any events. I am not paid to go to any events, cover any events. I've covered politics for 15 years. I do not say this lightly. I don't come to you lightly and say this. I've watched a production. I've watched how false, how to me, how fake what they're putting out. And I can't remember in 15 years a campaign like the Rick Jackson campaign. He is who we thought he was. Is that how they say it? I don't know. But no, it's. I'm going to show you something today. Someone asked me the other day, do you have a problem with saying fraud? Jackson's a billionaire. I'm getting messages from people. I'm getting warnings, not from the Jackson campaign. I want to be clear because there's so many jackasses out there, okay? I'm not getting any direct messages from the Jackson campaign. I get mass messages from people I'm not aware of, but they caution me, be careful what you say. And someone said, do you have a problem calling him, saying fraud and referring, not with the campaign, not with the Never Trumper, not with what I feel is the support. I feel it's a total fraud. I'm allowed to say that. And I'm going to show you that today, okay? And we're also, I do not take place, I do not participate in gotcha media. I don't do it. And here's another thing. Stop saying BKP asked the tough questions. And I say that with respect because we're going to go over the video. The Jackson campaign would not let me in an event. The Jackson campaign made me leave an event at a location that I may have over the last 15 years, no exaggeration, attended 100 events. Yes. And we're going to talk about, well, it's private property. The owner can ask you to leave. We're going to talk about all that. All right. But the one thing I appreciate is when many of you said, well, many of you said, hold on, I got to fix this volume here. I can tell it's not right. But some of you said that, well, BKP asks the tough questions. I appreciate that, but I only ask the questions that I think we should ask candidates, right? That's it. These are questions I think we should ask candidates. Now, last week, I'm going to show you what started all of this, but yesterday I went to a Jackson event. They would not allow me to be at the event. They put me out of the event and threatened to have me, removed. Go into all the details. Had the owner asked me to leave the property, not just go outside the event, but get off the property. Again, I've done events here for 15 years. So this is one of the things, right here. So I think the two leaders, all right? And I'm going to go through, I laid the pictures out. I won't jump around too much. But for 1 month, when Jackson came out, and I'll show you this, I asked the campaign to meet with the individual. I don't do paid interviews. I don't want to know the flavor of his ice cream. And I'm actually going to show you a question that I had prepared if given the opportunity. And then I want you to judge. If it's a gotcha question. Okay? So, we are all getting the two leaders, and we're getting, you know what? This is going to get me in so much trouble. Rick Jackson, we know you were, lived in foster homes. We know that. We know your uncle was a paraplegic and he took his $68, or shall I not quote, his monthly or weekly Social Security, whatever it was, and he paid for a cab to send you down to DFACS. We know that. We know all your mom was alcoholic, no dad in the picture. We got it, okay? We got it, all right? But you are very far removed from that now. Very far removed. You're 3 times a billionaire. Good for you. Good for you. I'm a capitalist. Make money. Go ahead. But and you give money to foster care foundations and I'm going to go over that tomorrow maybe because I want to stay focused here today. But one thing you don't do, he talks about all the money he gives to set up charities. I'm serious. Every single thing I say today, there's facts that we can surround it. He talks about all the charities that he, funds and how he funds foster care, startups, and takes care of, it's on and on. But what we ran into, it all started last week. When all right, hold on a minute. Let him come in. If he's out there, let him come in because people have asked. And just let him come in. People have asked about him. And then he gets 30 seconds. And then he's got to go. So if the door opens, I got somebody coming in. So anyhow, he talks about all of the charitable work he does. And he's a mega billionaire. And that's great. But it all started last week, really, at Banks County, where the Jackson campaign did not control the room. And they have total control of everything, and they do take questions. But those questions don't make the air. They don't get on TV. They don't get on social media. They control the media in the room. They control the questions in the room, whether you believe it or not. And if a question comes up that they don't like, they squash it, try to do everything to keep it from getting out, all the above. Because they want you to believe that this guy is Trump's. We have this, right? We have this with Trump. And then we've got abandoned by his father, alcoholic mother, raised in foster care. It didn't matter to Rick Jackson. Okay, we got it, Rick. Seriously, we got it, okay? Got it. I want everybody to be... Then he sends out these things, these newspapers, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, newspapers. And they have pictures of Donald Trump and Rick Jackson. Rick Jackson, Donald Trump's partner. Okay? Donald Trump's partner. But what we couldn't do is we couldn't find where Rick Jackson was Donald Trump's partner at any time when President Trump ran for office. All right? Couldn't do it. And we thought it was appropriate. And first of all, I have never went to one of his events and yelled out in the room, we're gonna prove all the bullshit, okay? That's posted. We're gonna prove every bit, not just a little bit. The MAGA to the 10th power bullshit that's online. All right, we're gonna prove it wrong. I've never been to a Rick Jackson event and just interrupted him and all this. We're going to show you. And we're going to show you what really upset the campaign. And we're going to explain how I got told I could not come into the event. And you're going to be the judge. Because this campaign, I have never in 15 years watched something so produced, Hollywood produced, to try to get you to believe something. Now, this is what started all of this over in Banks County and Pools Barbecue yesterday. So, yesterday, I go down to East Ellijay to Pools Barbecue. Now, watch this. I've got the pictures lined up. Hopefully, I can get these. We can stay focused. So Saturday, Jackson was in Fannin County, and I couldn't go to Saturday's event in Fannin County. Right below here, Gilmer County, in the Georgia State House, Senate District 7, right here in Gilmer County, he was at Pools Barbecue yesterday. Now, before I go any further on that, we're not attacking Pools Barbecue today. I think the owner got in a position he's never been in before, didn't know which way to turn. I have eaten there. I would eat there today. I would go tomorrow. I have to tell you what happened, where the owner was involved, and what the Jackson campaign did to the owner yesterday. They put the owner in a position they should have never put the owner in yesterday, of saying, this is who can come in your restaurant. So keep this in mind. This is a restaurant. Open for business. We'll show you that. So as many times as I say Pools Barbecue today, please at no time take it and go after them. End of story. Now, so I have covered about 100 events there. I've gone there for years. Many of you might remember Colonel Oscar Poole, who built the barbecue. It's named after Oscar Poole. He died about, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago. There's a new owner of the restaurant. I don't think the property, don't know the business deal, but there's a new owner of the restaurant. They kept it Pools Barbecue, kept everything to say. It was a political hotspot for years, okay? Even Pat Buchanan, when Pat Buchanan ran, yes, in the Wayback Machine, all the way back when Pat Buchanan ran for president, he went to Pools Barbecue. When Zaxby Chambliss, right? When Zaxby Chambliss was in a runoff, we had an event at Pools Barbecue. Zaxby Chambliss came up there, and I was there going in the way back. So that being said, what I'm about to show you, this is approximately last month. This is approximately 4 weeks ago. And this is the Burt Jones campaign, all right? And this is the room. This is the same exact room, that Rick Jackson was in yesterday. Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor, running for governor. Same room. And I'm going to just flip through a couple pictures here. And here's another one of Lieutenant Burt. And there's another one, and one more. There you go, one more. Okay? Now, remember that as we go on, this is about a month ago, Burt Jones is in this room. All right? And I did 3 videos yesterday. I'll explain those so you can go watch them, because everything we do, you can go watch. So I went to this event. I went in, and I was invited to this event. I go in, and I go in the back of the room. This is me. And Burt Jones, communication director, PR person, walked up to me and said, "This is not a media event." Okay? Very nice. Burt Jones, PR, come up. Hey, we're glad you're here, but this is not a media event. We don't want any videoing, or, we kindly thought this was a closed event. I pointed across the room and I said, that guy right there works for the local newspaper. The place is open for business to the public. Those people are eating over there. So this is not a closed event. It was not advertised as a closed event. And as long as that guy's there, I'll stay here. And if he takes a picture, I'll take video. And the lady was very nice. She said, you know what? I get it. I get it. I get it. She said, okay. So she was very nice. The campaign was very nice. They've never actually told me no and whatever, but I want to be transparent about this. But when I said that to the campaign, she was like, okay, all right, I no problem. Now, so Burt Jones in the same room a month ago, Rick Jackson was in yesterday, that I was not allowed to go into. We'll get to that in a minute. So, the Rick Jackson campaign. Now, keep this in mind. I went to the kickoff. I went to his absolute friggin' palace, all right? I went to the kickoff. I was in the room. I listened to the guy's speech. I posted the entire speech, no editing, anything online. Posted everything online, all right? went up and shook Mr. Jackson's hand, just said, wish you well or something. I say that to most all candidates. How are you? And posted that I came back. It's all online. We have everything online. I did a couple shows that I was impressed with what he said. I was impressed with what he wanted to do, right? Here it is. I was in the room. And I said, you know what? I like what this guy's saying. He's going to go after the political cartel in Atlanta under the Gold Dome. This may be our guy. Because all the way through, I look at Burt Jones, Chris Carr, and Brad Raffensperger, and I'm like, there is a lane. Someone will get in here. Now, I have a strong feeling of how he got in here and where everything ties to, and we'll get into that later, okay? He didn't get in by accident. He didn't just have... obviously, these are all my opinions because God knows I get warnings to be careful, right? So, but he didn't have just this like, oh, in December, I think I'll run for governor. It didn't happen, all right? This was all pre-planned, well-planned. Everything points to planning. We'll say that, okay? So I went to the kickoff. And let's keep this in mind. When I came back, as you well know that you watched the podcast, I gave the Jackson campaign a good month. And I started digging in to his campaign contributions, traveling nurses, Jackson Healthcare. I went and listened to an event or two where he talked about, he didn't talk about the 2020 election. He didn't talk about Dominion voting machines. He didn't talk about health care in Georgia. In fact, he said health care was not a big thing on their polling. Start talking property tax and so forth. And so I listened closely and intently. As for a month, and I have this, and they know it. And I don't ever talk about the people on the campaign, but it's important to do that right now. And Brian Robinson knows. Now, these people, this is what they do for a living, all right? I'll leave it at that. That's what they do. They work for a lot of campaigns. Brian Robinson was press secretary or communication director or head of PR for Chris Carr. He worked for Chris Carr, and when that didn't seem to be going, Rick Jackson purchases what he wants. He's a billionaire. Buys what he wants. Buys what he wants. We'll leave it there. So he left Chris Carr. I talked to, what's his name? I talked to the guy. Anyhow. So Brian Robinson, I have messages with Brian Robinson where I have asked, from the day I went here, I asked for a meeting with Mr. Jackson. And my goal was in the first month, to see if I could go sit down. Well, who are you? It's not who am I. Let's do that again. Pay attention. Well, who do you think you are? Well, you know what? I don't want to know his favorite flavor of ice cream. I don't want to know if they raise puppies in the backyard. I don't want to know. It's not who I am. It's who you deserve. You deserve to know who he is. One more time for those out in Yorba Linda, California. Who in the world do you think you are? No, it's who in the hell is he? You know, you should know him. Now, that being said, that got me just a tad up there, right? But that being said, that's what I thought. Because we know where Chris Carr's coming from. We know where Brad Raffensperger's coming from. We know where Burt Jones is coming from, and you deserve to know where this guy's coming from. I mean, he's like a meteorite headed for Earth, and you know, wow, what's happening? So I asked over and over to go, you know, I'll drive over to Alpharetta, give me, you know, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to, not keeping anything for you, but I wanted a chance to sit down with the man face to face, say, sir, I mean, there's going to be some things that, you know, people are going to want to know why, and did you do this, and Nikki Haley, and so forth. And I even have Nick Ayers, and Brian Robinson. I have documentation where they even told me they were working on a meeting, and I don't have the quote, but I think we're going to, you know, set you up next week, right? So you all know this. For 5 weeks, I don't, you know, I don't do anything where this is concerned, but highlight this. And then, as I noticed the production of this, and I noticed through South Georgia how they were controlling the room, okay? And I don't travel to South Georgia that often. It's below the gnat line, right? I don't get below the gnat line that often. I went to Macon a couple weeks ago. But, you know, it is a long drive. And so north of Atlanta, I will hit those. And I have a couple plans to go south of Atlanta. Just looking for some, you know, cheddar. Little gas money. Anyhow. But I noticed in his events south of Atlanta, going towards Savannah and other areas, he was controlling the room. And what they would do, and I've been attacked for this also, which I don't care. Have at it. I bet you somewhere, somehow, they will start saying that, you know, I'm the most wanted man in America again, at least in Georgia. Georgia's most wanted. Boom! Here I am. So, let's do that again, right? So anyhow, I noticed they were controlling the rooms. I had people call and say they staged the questions. Had people call and tell me they were staging where they wanted certain people to sit. They have their own camera. We're going to show you everything today. Every single thing you see today. Don't leave. You want to know Rick Jackson? You want to know the campaign? You want to know what they're about? Well, we have the beef. Now, so, and I said, you know what? Sooner or later, he has to have an event where there's a live video stream. Because what you see every day on social media is, oh, it was good to see this person, and this person. And it was good to be at this event, and it was a great turnout. And yes, people are turning out. He's spending millions and millions. Yes, they're turning out. Even myself, but I wasn't allowed in. So, you know, and you see this, and you see video clips that they've put together of people talking about, Rick doesn't put up with no bullshit. Now, Rick is a man of his word, right? Professional people clipping that together, making it real smooth, cleaning up the audio, right? It's like, that's what you're seeing, Then you're seeing a brief commercial, but no one hits live that I'm aware of. It just turns it on. And that's what I do. You guys know that. Go look at my Facebook, voiceofruralamerica.com. On Facebook, last Tuesday, right? Last Tuesday, I think his name is Jeff off the top of my head, the chair of Jackson County GOP. I turn the camera on. I don't edit. I don't add anything. I don't make any commentary while the camera's running. And I put up there, hey, great hanging out with patriots at Jackson County GOP. Burt Jones was there. Frank Ginn. Who else was there? I can't remember. But they had a list of speakers, right? And I videoed it. I have videoed at Jackson County GOP for years. And they know me. And they know I'm not going to go over there and interrupt their meeting. There's not one time I've ever... So for you out there, hi, sign. For you out there to, oh, Jackson didn't let you in because he didn't want to hear you yelling questions and interrupting the event. Really? Kiss it. Ooh, I shouldn't have said that. Mom may be watching. Anyhow, everybody knows when I go in, I'm just going. I don't scream out anything. Never have. I've done Kemp events. Yes, right over in Jackson County. Brian Kemp was there one morning when he was campaigning with former governor of Arizona. I forget his name. Yeah. So I've been doing this for 15 years, and they know it. So Wednesday night, it changed a little bit for Rick Jackson. And this is Banks County. So Banks County GOP, first of all, this is the first event that I think Jackson's done where he shared the stage, and they told the Banks County GOP they control everything. State Senator Dolezal was there, and State Senator Steve Gooch, who is running for, both of them running for lieutenant governor, they told them they were not happy that there was someone else there to speak. And they told them they had 5 minutes to speak. You get 5 minutes. So anyhow, this is it. This is Banks County Republican Party. This, you can see my camera. That's what I do. I set that up. Boom. Right there. So Jackson is there. Now, let me go here. And here's Rick Jackson. So I'm going to play you what happened last week at Banks County GOP. See, Brian Parker, nice guy. I know Brian a long time. And Brian is the Banks County GOP chair. So he had a microphone. And he went around the question when Rick Jackson said, I'm now going to take questions. He went around the room and he handed the microphone. Okay? And for those out there, he went all the way around that room. He handed the microphone to people. And when you're going to see, you're going to hear my question and why I asked it. But you got to keep in mind, I didn't yell it out. I didn't shout it out. I didn't interrupt. Brian Parker, the GOP chair, had the mic in his hand, and he looked at me and said, do you want to ask a question? I said, sure. I mean, I'm a voter. Sure, I'll ask a question. And that's how it happened. So nobody's ever interrupted the billionaire. The billionaire has never been yelled at by BKP. Well, until yesterday. I did yell at him yesterday, but you'll see that too. So let me show you what got the campaign kind of sparked up there. Let me pull it up for you. All right. Here we go. Hang tight. Got to move it over. Now, this first question came up before mine.
Sure. I've got one question here. My understanding is just from trying to learn about you and Bert Jones right now. He's got more name recognition. And you align yourself with Trump quite a bit. That's a great line. My understanding, you supported Liz Cheney and everything. And you really support everything. That's your choice. I would just like to know why.
Absolutely. So, first of all, I give to a lot of people all over the United States. And in 2021, I gave to some PAC or something I didn't know this with Liz Cheney at $2,400. But just like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, I will admit I was late to the Trump train. There's no question about it. But I gave $1 million to him. That's not an insignificant concept of supporting somebody. I can assure you that all of our legislators put together including my opponent, has never given that kind of money. There's nobody that supports him more than I do now. So,
Gotcha. One more real quick question.
I
have a question right back to you back. Mr.
Okay, so he admits this is Banks County Republican Party. He admits he was late to the Trump train. Okay, and he gave President Trump $1 million. So I did not ask that question. Okay, I didn't ask that question. I'm in the back of the room. Anytime I ask questions, I build off something a candidate has said. I don't do gotcha media. I build off what a candidate says. So anytime I'm asking a question, I'm following up what the candidate just said. So he opened the door. Guy asked about Liz Cheney. And if you notice, he says President Trump. And that is true. President Trump. And he gave President Trump $1 million December 2025. Well after, right, January 20th. My understanding, the $1 million was for the ballroom, but I'm not for sure. So in December, you know, they had to stroke off $1 million check because they knew this was coming or could surface to Trump in when they did their planning to launch his campaign. The reason his campaign was set up in December and launched in January, and I say all too often my opinion, is because he wanted January, the team wanted January, February, I forget when it launched, but they wanted January, February, March, and April, right into 2 days in April, but they wanted 90 days to go after the front runner, Burt Jones, as hard as they could with little response based on the fact the lieutenant governor was in legislative session. Yeah, this is all thought out and planned out. So he says that about Liz Cheney, right? This is where I ask a question. This is Banks County GOP last Wednesday night. This is where I ask a question.
I have a question right back to you back. Mr. Jackson, I heard you answer this gentleman's question about your contribution to Liz Cheney. And then you went on to say that you're now President Trump's largest donor. Was that correct? Did I hear that?
I don't know that.
In Georgia, I guess, in Georgia at this time.
Politicians, to my knowledge,
Okay.
no other politician has. Now, Bernie Marcus, who's a friend of mine, gave more money than anyone.
Right, but
So-
here's my question though, because I was researching. You did give President Trump $1 million in December of 2025, but you gave President Trump at that time he was president. In 2016, when he ran, 2020 and 2024, I don't find you giving candidate Trump any money, while at the same time, correct me if I'm wrong, you gave candidate Kemp, candidate Brad Raffensperger, candidate Jeff Duncan, and in the 2024 primary, running against Donald Trump, you gave Nikki Haley money, and if I'm wrong, up to 2 weeks before she got out of the race. So my question is, you did give him $1 million, but why didn't you find money for candidate Trump? Can you tell us that?
Yeah, I've already told you. Just like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, I was waiting for the Trump death. I'm not objecting to that. And of course I give to people here. I gave to Jeff Duncan when he was a Republican, not as a Democrat. That was 8 years ago. And I think we all voted on Jeff Duncan. That's a different, subject from that standpoint. And I had in 2015 gave to Jeb Bush and other people. I admit that. I am late to the Trump train, but nobody supports it more than I do now. And by the way, I met him at Mar-a-Lago. He's forgiven me. for doing this. So I think if he can forgive me, hopefully you can. Thank you.
All right. So a couple things as we're going through this. As you'll notice, you heard the GOP chair, Brian Parker, say we have another question back here because he asked me if I wanted to ask it. And if you heard, I didn't attack the guy. I didn't scream at him. Why didn't you support Donald Trump? Blah. You're a never Trump. I didn't do anything. I was very accurate with my question, very calm with the question. I didn't call him any names, didn't scream out, didn't rude, didn't jump in front of someone else that wanted a question. The mic was handed to me. And keep in mind, if you go back and listen to it, I offered him twice to correct me if I was wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right? I offered him twice in that video to correct me if I'm wrong. And at no time does he correct me. He doesn't correct me because he can't. Here's the problem they have. They couldn't control that moment. Period. Stay with me. They could not control that moment. They could not control the man to the left over by the window that I don't even know his name, I've never met in my entire life, who asked the Liz Cheney question. Having live video running, because I did it live. You could go watch that whole thing live. That's a clip. I go to voiceofruralamerica.com and go down to Banks County where I just say, hey, I'm with Banks County GOP Patriots tonight. That's what I do. I don't know this guy over here. They couldn't control that. And they couldn't control my question. And the last thing they could not do, they could not control it not getting out of the room. They can't control what happened. Control. All right? Yeah, he wants to be governor. So, also what took place there that night was there were several questions, not from me, from people in the room about 2020. That's where he always says, ridiculous, what happened in 2020 was ridiculous, and people let us down. So I'm going to give you one more thing that took place this week in the campaign, and then we'll get back to Pools Barbecue not letting me in for the weekend. We'll get back to that. Or the Jackson campaign not allowing me. The Jackson campaign has banned me at this current time. So we're going to get back to that. And so yesterday morning, I'm watching the Georgia gang.
We must not forget, too. That's very important. Rick Jackson's having to hustle with regard, since he's a newcomer, he's having to hustle with regard to retail politics. He was over in Banks County the other night, for example, and got some tough questions, and he admitted that he came late to the game to support Trump. And I don't know if that's going to help or hurt him when people are still trying to decide, is it Jackson or is it going to be Jones, because those really are the two titans, as I refer to them. I also think
he was over in Banks County, and he got some tough questions the other night, right? He was over in Banks County, and he got some tough questions the other night. And as Phil Kent said on the Georgia gang, I don't know if it's going to help him or hurt him, right? I don't know if it's going to help him or hurt him. And so, you see, he couldn't control, the campaign couldn't control keeping that in. And I did on Vora. You could go read for yourself because I want you to make the judgment, all right? Not the bots or the uglies on social media that, just want to attack. Go make your own judgment. I wrote 2 articles. They are not Rick Jackson flattering because they surround the questions on election 2020. I put his videos in the article and this article here where I say he has the makings of never Trump fraud, because the thing is, he says he's late to the train, right? He's late to the train, but every day we get these in the mail, one right after another, that wants to lead innocent voters that don't know this to believe that he is some major President Trump supporter. And right now, if you don't support President Trump, you don't support him. That's up to you. But I don't want you misled that this guy is some President Trump supporter. You heard yourself. I asked him, correct me if I'm wrong. You never gave to candidate Trump, right? He didn't correct me. The whole time you didn't give to candidate Trump, you're giving to candidate Brian Kemp, candidate Jeff Duncan, candidate Brad Raffensperger, and to Nikki Haley right up to 2 weeks before she gets out of the race. And that's after Donald Trump won 21 primaries. This guy still supporting Nikki Haley. Not to mention the Liz Cheney after she voted to impeach Trump, and his answer on that was, uh-oh. So, let's go here. Now, let's go back to pools. And you can go to my Substack, Vora. Let's talk about yesterday. We're going to go into yesterday. Go to Vora, Substack, Vora, V-O-R-A, at BKP. Read the articles yourself. So, between that and Phil Kent yesterday morning, I published my Substack on social media. I published my Substack on Rumble, my video. I published everything on YouTube. It's what I do. Voice of Rural America, BKP Politics is our network. And covering... So, here is the same room. Here is the same room. So, I was invited to this. Now, this is the owner. I go in the room. Okay, I go in the door and I go to the right and I go towards the area where they're set up at Pools Barbecue. The door's unlocked. The sign says open. It's a business. A business. Now, if the business was closed, it's not normal hours, and this owner rented this business out for a private event, there's a lot of moving parts here. So for the I'm going to show you what Ken Carroll put up the other day. He jumped into it. I sent Ken a message. I said, Ken, you made a statement on social media about it being private property, and the owner had the right to have me removed or to tell me. I'll show you the clip in a minute. I said, being you did that, I'm going to explain. So I walk in and I start there. I've got my little bag, Felix the cat, right? Did you understand that? If you did, tell me. So Felix the cat here, I walk in, I'm going over, I'm going to set up. And I'm not going to do anything but video this for you to watch. I was going to share it. And I did have one question yesterday. And I'll give you the question. You will get the question. So the owner is in the white shirt. And I'm going to show you the guy in a minute. The guy meets me there and said, you can't come in. Yeah, I'm coming in. No, you cannot. Why? The campaign, you're not allowed in. There's been a decision made. You cannot come in. And then the guy had the nerve to say to me, all right, nothing is exactly quote. All right, but I remember it. And I did not video when I went in there because you were talking about somewhere I went in. I've been in this place 400 times. The rest of the other times to eat, 100 times for political. So when I walked in, I'm not preparing to have a video running. I wasn't going to do that. Not my style. So the guy says to me, well, we reviewed everything you've done this week. I've done, right? We reviewed everything you've done this week, and it's obvious on your social media and your Facebook post. You're not friendly to Rick Jackson. You're not friendly to the campaign. I want to wipe my eyes. Excuse me. So I must be friendly to the campaign. When did we start requiring friendly as entrance? Okay. So there you go. I'm telling you, I'm going to prove everything today. How anyone, so the owner doesn't know this. So I said, no. The guy looks at me and says, we will have you removed. I'm like, you serious, dude? I mean, it's young punk. Yeah, that's what he was. And now I remind myself of my dad, so I'm young punk. But yeah, I'm the old guy. So, I mean, he stepped to me. Yes. I'm like, oh, dude, what are you going to do? You're going to leave. No, I'm not. I'm not leaving. We will have you. I said, you're going to remove me? Seriously? Well, we do not want to have to forcibly remove you. But you will be removed. What the hell? So I said, I'm not leaving. So they go and get the owner, all right? Now, I can hear whispers. I can't make out total. This is the owner in a white t-shirt. And what they're obviously showing him, I'm standing there, and what they're obviously showing him, right, is that the campaign said, I can't be there. This is what they're obviously showing him. Hey, he can't be there. The guy's putting a bind. Here he is right here. Nice guy. Go eat at Pool's Barbecue this afternoon. Go tomorrow. Go every time you come. Go down to Pool's Barbecue. Say hello. Tell him BKP sent you. Because the owner is like, so he walks up to me and he says, please leave. I said, no, I'm not leaving. Why? He said, look, they have the dining room this afternoon. They don't want you here. Please just come on. I said, no. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, did you not stand next to me, not even 4 weeks ago, in the room, in the back of your dining room, right next to me with Burt Jones in this room? He said, yes, I did. And you know me, right? Yes. And you know I do this all the time, right? He said, yes, I do. And I've done it here. Yes. And that's when the campaign guy steps in again. And he says, we paid for this event. We paid him for. So I don't know how much or if they did, right? So he asked me to leave. I said, are you open? He starts going like this. I said, are you open? I said, could I walk in here through the door that I just came in? Can I walk to the counter and purchase a sandwich? He's going like this. And I really, from the bottom of my heart. Now, this guy, while I'm talking to him, this guy is, they're ringing up his order at their counter. Right? They're open for business. It's not that the business is closed and they rented it for a private event. Now, I understand private property rights. We're going to go down that road, okay? So, I told the guy, I said, you know what? I said, if you're asking me to leave this building, keep that in mind that you're asking me to leave. He's basically, I got to do it. He said, just don't film inside here. You can go outside. Go right out the door. He told me, go right out the door. Okay. So I go outside, out the door, right? And I'm standing out there. Here is a picture. And I will show you the neon light that says open right here. I'll show you the doors open and closed. We'll get to that in a minute. So I go outside and I'm going to set up about 5 foot from the walk, not get in anybody's way. So when Mr. Jackson comes in, I can ask him directly on camera, sir, why are you preventing me from coming to your event today? Now, the campaign did this. Okay, they put it in place, but this is Rick Jackson, okay? This is the candidate. He's totally controlled. This is a major motion picture that they have going on every day. And, he could say property tax, and he could say they're not going to like me down there, all he wants. But you can't ask a real question. As you can see, the very first week he came up against real questions, not tough questions. Questions we need to ask these candidates, right? So the owner comes back out and says, this got me. He says, I need you to leave. You can't video on my property. I said, are you serious? He's like, they told me. So this is all the Jackson campaign. They're putting this owner in a position. He already has people in the room, right? In his restaurant. Can't say it enough. Don't get onto this guy, whatever you do. The Jackson campaign, Rick Jackson, what's her name? Jade? Is her name Jade? Yeah, Jade. And I'm going to put some pictures up. I want you to help me to identify. So he said, they said you cannot video on the property. I looked at him, I said, let me just say something very nice, not ugly. You own the place. And when that big bus, I pointed to the bus, I said, when that big bus leaves this afternoon, you live here and I live here. He said, I get it. So, now, as you can see, they're open for business. All right. Now, I'm going to show you this. They're open for business. So, I'm not ugly as saying the owner discriminated against me yesterday, but I do think it could be perceived that way, or it could go further. I do. I really do. Because you can see the neon light. It's open. The light's on. Okay. Here's another shot. It's open. Now, later in the day, what's funny is I'm doing a live video. I'm telling people it's open. Look at it. I'm showing people going in and out. Right? And later in the day, after I'm there about 45 minutes, that light goes off. But that being said, it's open. Now, this guy jumps in and he says, it's a private event and the owner has the right to ask you to leave. I know you believe in private property rights. So I figured since Ken jumped out and said that, we should probably address. Now, someone made a comment and said, Ken come back to answer this individual. The First Amendment protects the press from the federal government. It doesn't give the press access to private property. Okay? Now, what happens, and if I'm wrong, just like I gave Mr. Jackson an opportunity to correct me, well, we'll go in there later. Okay, so this is another one. And then he goes on to answer someone else. That's certainly not accurate. I invite you to look at his schedule. He's clearly speaking at all events all over the state. He answers questions and sharing his plan for Georgia. Well, that's not accurate. So, private property rights. Who's to say I didn't go to get barbecue? Who's to say? I mean, I have before. I do like the onion rings. Now, this one's going to get you. You're not going to understand this one. But, not everybody likes me. I'm going to take a coffee shot on that. Not everybody likes BKP. In the past 15 years, there's been some, boom, boom, there has. But this individual put a post up yesterday, and you don't know her, and we have clashed. I hate no one. If you're new to the program, I hate no one. I really don't. I don't hate anybody. But this individual here, you wouldn't understand this, but this person right here, Jan Eaton, I may not always agree with Brian Pritchard. That was about the nicest thing, and I say that respectfully, Jan. I don't want to fight if you're out there. That's about the nicest thing, Jan, the closest thing the nice Jan has said about me in years. And I say that. Let's not go there, okay? But this issue with Jackson is despicable, if you knew this person. Seems as though Jackson wants to control the narrative to the extent that he prevented Brian from entering the event in Ellijay. He does want to. He does. He wants to control the narrative. If he would do it to the media, she knows me. She knows I do media. She knows that. If he would do this to the media during a campaign, just imagine how he would treat the citizens of Georgia if he were to be elected. We're going to get into what I think that would be. So let me show you a couple things about the event. Now, this is Carlene Ferguson. Now, Carlene Ferguson on social media, she is, and I'm not implying because this is her personal page, but she is a commissioner in Gilmer County. She's a Gilmer County, she's on the commission. She's one of the commissioners, post 1 or post 2. I think post 1. She put up on Facebook, today, Sunday, April 12th, at 1 p.m., at Pools Barbecue, come meet Rick Jackson. Public invite, right on social media. And then underneath is the graphic, come meet Rick Jackson in Ellijay. Sunday at 12 o'clock, Pools Barbecue. There's nothing on here. There's nothing on here that says private event, closed to the media, only registered access. Some people have said, well, he forgot to register for the event. The only reason they do that is so they can kind of get a head count of how many people might be there, and 2, so they can get your information. But it's not required to enter, because when I went in yesterday, the table out front that says Jackson did not ask me to sign up or clarify if I was registered or not. So nothing here says closed event, private event, no access to media, invitation only, nothing. All right? So let's go here. Now, this is on his page. North Georgia, I'm headed your way this weekend. Come meet me in Mineral Bluff. That was at 12 o'clock on Saturday. And meet me in Ellijay on Sunday. That's it. Not closed to the media, not private event, RSVP only, nothing. Public. Now, I didn't go Saturday. I had an engagement, but I went Sunday. I was invited. Now, so here is the 9th District of Georgia. This is the 9th District of the GOP of Georgia. They put this out and said the 9th District has been asked to pass along the following information. Now, I live in the 9th District. I vote in the 9th District, legally vote in the 9th District. Ask Brad Ravensburger, he'll tell you I legally vote in the 9th District. I live in the 9th District. I vote in the 9th District. I involved in my 9th District GOP. And I was invited. Pass this along. Come meet Rick Jackson. Okay? Then, I did not get one for Sunday. I did not get Sunday. But I got a text message for Saturday. Hey, it's Max with Rick Jackson's campaign for governor. I hope you can join Rick and me for a meet and greet in Mineral Bluff tomorrow. That's on my phone. I got that right here. They wanted me to come Saturday. I didn't get one for Sunday, but they asked me to come Saturday. Now, here are the hours. They're open from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday, right? And on their social media, they advertise that they're now open 7 days a week. They were closed, I think they were closed Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, and they were open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And on March 11th, they posted, we're now open 7 days a week. It's Sunday from 11 to 6. So when I showed up, this place is open to business. Now, someone has brought up another situation where a business had someone removed, but at that time, the business was closed. It was out of season, the business was closed, it was not open to the public, and the people that owned the property had a private event in their pavilion at their business. Difference. Big, big difference. This is open, all right? Now, Rick Jackson even took a picture with the staff, all right? Even took a picture with the staff. And here he is. He'll be at Dalton tonight. And I want the campaign when you watch this. I'm not going to be at Dalton tonight. I'm not defeated. By no means. You don't know me if you feel I'm defeated. If you don't know how they've tried to defeat me in the past with anything and everything they could throw at the wall, I'm not defeated, okay? I do get phone calls. People say they're worried about me, and I can appreciate that, all right? Someone called me and said, he's a billionaire. I get that, all right? I don't trust these campaigns, I'll say that. I don't trust any of these campaigns. That being said, and what I'm seeing, so he will be in Dalton tonight at the event center at 6 p.m. I wonder if everyone will be welcome, right? Everyone will be welcome. Don't know. So, now, just a brief history. Poole's Barbecue, again, Colonel Oscar Poole, no longer alive, but I've gone here for years. Years ago, Karen Handel, I covered Karen Handel years ago when she was running for office the first time in District 6 at Poole's Barbecue. This is where I met Phil Kent. This is 10 years ago. Oscar Poole, 10 years ago. Two media superstars, Phil Kent and Brian Pritchard, meet at Poole's Barbecue. Now again, Oscar's not alive, new owner. But I've gone there hundreds of times. I met Phil Kent there. David Perdue is there in that other picture. Here is myself and the Colonel. 87 years old. We had his birthday party at the barbecue. Maybe one last picture. Brian Pritchard, who is impressed that I'm approaching 87 years old. And there is the birthday party, 87 years old. I enjoyed being with a great group of friends celebrating Oscar Poole's 87th birthday today. I just would have never dreamed I went from this to being told, get off the property. Seriously. And the owner didn't do it. Rick Jackson. 15 years going through this door. 15 years covering events. 15 years turning on cameras. 15 years doing debate watch parties. 15 years. Even recently, 4 weeks ago, with the new owner. I've covered events with the new owner, and he knows it. Just a month ago with Burt Jones, and Rick Jackson, after 15 years, did not allow me to be in the doors or on the property of Poole's Barbecue. Just saying, all right? Now, here I am. I'm going to go through my day. A day with BKP. So I go down there. I get put outside. So I go to the right-of-way. This is the bus. I am right on the corner of the bus, and I've got a view of the door, and I'm going to wait there for Mr. Jackson to come in. And I do about a 20-minute video waiting for him to come in. Now, I don't know, quote, if he got off the bus, he came from the bus. All right? So he came from the bus on the other side, all right? And I did say on the video that he got off the bus and went inside, and someone attacked me and said, no, he got out of an SUV, and I can't validate that. So here I am, all right, and we're going to show you a couple pictures because I'm going to ask you to help me identify. Here is someone they placed at the corner to watch. Here is State Representative Brett Cox. This is State Representative Brett Cox. He's going in. And I do know for a fact state representatives all across the state of Georgia have pressure on them to endorse. And this is proudly endorsed Rick Jackson. This is State Rep Brett Cox from Ophir and Alpharetta. First one to endorse Rick Jackson. Hey, look, I get it. He is not a bad guy. I like this guy. And, you know, in the political tea leaves, there's a lot of people talking about Rich McCormick from the 7th District is going to want to run against Raphael Warnock in 2 years, and he wants to run for the 7th District. He comes out first and endorses Rick Jackson. Well, look at the money that Rick Jackson gave Jeff Duncan. Just saying. Anyhow, but he's not a bad guy, so there he is. He's going in. And then we have, this is a picture you cannot see, but the front door is closed. It's not closed, but it's closed. And what you can't see there, the next picture is the front door is open. So just showing you that people are walking through that door. They are open for business. Here is a highlight. Now, the guy in the jacket, I don't know if he's security. He looked like he was driving the SUV yesterday. I'm trying to identify this guy with the campaign. Just ballparking here, because I was there for an hour and a half in the sun. And I was pretty, you know, it was a rough hour and a half or almost 2 hours standing out in the sun, but I wasn't leaving until I seen everything happen. But this guy right here in the suit, I'm going to guess 25 people in his entourage yesterday. We'll show you everything. Now, this guy here, I would like to see if someone could help me identify the guy in the plaid shirt. Because the guy in the plaid shirt, okay, he is the one that threatened to have me removed forcibly, or don't make me, or whatever he said. But he is the one that stopped me at the door. And the guy right behind him is the one that said, showed the owner something from the campaign that I couldn't go in. So they're the ones that made me leave. We'll put it that way. I'm trying to look for some nice words. The guy in the red, he runs media. This is a close-up of that guy right there. I'd like to identify who he is with the campaign. If you can help me, or if I could send you directly the message and you know people on the campaign, if you could let me know. This guy was very, he's like he's stepping to BKP yesterday. I'm like, yo, listen, I'm at the age. Here it is. I shouldn't do this on video. Just beat my ass. You got to? Go ahead. Do it. I mean, come on. We'll see what happens. Just see what happens. Go ahead. I mean, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not threatening anybody. I'm not going to fight. But come on. I mean, this guy is like, oh, like he was, if I didn't keep up, you know, or get out, no telling. This is the guy. I want to identify this guy driving the SUV. Okay. And here is this guy coming off the bus, going in with the other guy there that I'm trying to identify. Now, here is, I think her name's Jade. Now, here's Rick Jackson. So he comes from the corner of the bus, okay? He comes from the corner of the bus. And there's Jade. I forget her name. And here she is. Where is Jade? I thought I had a picture. Here is another one. There's Rick Jackson. I'm close enough that he can hear me. He can hear me. He can see me. He stops at the corner. He stops at the corner to shake hands before he goes in. And he can hear me yelling at him. So I wait at the corner of the bus. And let me go with this right here. Let me see what I have here. Wait a minute, where's my videos? Here they are. Wait a minute. I had... could have sworn I had 2 videos that I plugged in from yesterday. So here is one. All right. Let me add this. Just give me just a second. Won't take but a second. Let me add this one right here. So here is the corner of the bus where he comes out of the bus, and hold your ears, all right? But here I am, Pools Barbecue in East Ellijay, somewhere I've been hundreds of times. Window says it's open. Facebook post, the invite does not say anything about it not being a media event. It doesn't say invitation only. Nowhere does it say invitation only on anything on the invite. It says come see us in Ellijay at this time. That's all it says. So it doesn't say closed to the media, private event, fundraiser, nothing like that. It doesn't say it. It's open. You can come in and get a barbecue, but they won't let me in. This event somewhere where I have been hundreds of times. And I asked the owner, I said, you do know what I do. We know each other. You know how many times I've been here. And the owner agrees with that. I came outside. Mr. Jackson, is there a reason you won't let me in the event today? Mr. Jackson, is there a reason you won't let me in the event today? Why won't you let me in the event today? Mr. Jackson! Mr. Jackson! Why won't you let me in the event today? Why are you ignoring me? Mr. Jackson! Rick Jackson! Rick Jackson, why are you walking off? Why won't you allow me in the event today? Why? Why won't you allow me in the event, Mr. Jackson? As you can see, Rick Jackson's walking off. Why not? Well, some people said because you're a blank, 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 they're trying to eat their lunch and they want me to shut the F up. So, okay. Well, Rick Jackson, I'm disturbing some people's meal outside. I get that. That's not my intent to disturb their meal. You know, there's people eating outside. But over here, as you can see, okay, they're eating. And let's see. His son is backdrop. It's very... So, Rick Jackson has gone in to do the event. He came from outside the bus. I'm gonna set up a new setup here, and all right. So the lady that went down through there, okay, the lady that went down through there, she works there, and she was delivering their food order. That's the lady that was going back up the parking lot. So there's a lady that delivered the food order to the people working outside, eating outside. Yes, they're open for business. Okay, the business hours again. We showed you. This is not a private invitation, and it doesn't say anywhere closed to the media. Nothing. Now, so we're back here, and there he is going in. As you can see, he's going in. Now, I wait outside the entire time. And I know he came in from another direction. Right here, I'll just show you a couple pics. So I go set up this way because that's the direction he came in. So I can catch when he comes back out in that direction. Maybe I can get him there. Now, this guy here, as you won't be able to see it, but in the red, he holds the boom mic, the boom. And what they do, I'm going to explain the production of this campaign. What they do is when you're coming out, they have someone stop you and say, "Hey, what did you think about today's event? What kind of guy is Rick?" So I'm going to show you what they turn this into. They turn it into 8 and 9 second videos. You don't see everything. So when they say, "Oh, well, there's questions every time," you don't see every question or hear every question. They control the complete narrative. Okay? So that being said, this guy holds the boom mic right as they're coming out. This is another shot here of just a group. The black SUV is backing up. Now there's a SUV there. It's parked, right? You're going to watch that. We got our eye on that. We got this guy here that I'm still trying to identify. We'll just call him Jackass number 1. The campaign, look. Well, it's pretty obvious you're not voting. Yeah, he said, it's pretty obvious you're not voting for Rick Jackson. Okay, all right. So he is. Now, this guy getting in the SUV, we're still trying to identify him. Now, here's a cameraman carrying a tripod to the van. I'm telling you, about 25 people. What I could see are some cameras that may be as high as $30,000. This is not a joke. It might be cameras that are $6,000 or $7,000, $10,000. Professional mics, everything. All right. Now, here's what's interesting. This is the local newspaper. This is the little guy from the local newspaper. This is the same little guy that was at the local newspaper when Burt Jones was there. And I asked the Jackson campaign, I said, will the local cable TV company be here? All right. Will the local cable TV company be here that's headquartered in Gilmer County? And will the local newspaper? We don't know if they're on the list to be let in to the event today. Well, there he is. All right. There is the newspaper guy leaving the event. Yes. So he was allowed in. So when you say restrict media, all media, okay. Maybe when he went in, they felt, this guy here I'm still trying to identify, maybe they felt when he went in that he passed the friendly to Rick Jackson test. Now I'm going to say this, I do not know. But I wonder if any kind of advertising will show up in that local newspaper. I don't know. May not. Wonder if any advertising will show up. Wonder if any advertising will show up at the local cable TV channel. Wonder if any will run there. Just wondering. So here is the guy in red holding, I think it's a tripod. He runs the boom mic. Here is our guy again getting in the SUV that I'm looking for. We have, this guy is taking a camera over to the van, and we're got our eye on the SUV. Here is the back of the media van. It's loaded with equipment. These guys are loading up all kinds of equipment in the media van. All right. The guy that looks to be running production, the guy in the red, he is taking equipment over to the media van, looks like. Here is the media van that they have. Here is the media van leaving. Are you bored with the media van? Now, here's what's interesting. I told you earlier. Here is where, now it's only, what is it? It started at 1, right? Lasted till 2:30, shaking hands. So it's only like 2:30 in the afternoon. they're still open. But if you notice, the open light went off, right? So we're watching the black SUV. There it is, black SUV. And it backs up. I'm watching the bus, and it starts to leave. Now, at this time, I don't know if they're going to try to get Jackson out the back door, what they're going to do, but the bus is leaving now. And the SUV is sitting there. And as you can see, they start packing up the SUV to get in there. And this is when he leaves. Now, keep in mind, he can hear me at all times. Rick Jackson and Jade can hear me. And Jade throws her hand up as though she's acknowledging me. I think that's her name. But let me just give you. Right there. And the bus seems to be leaving. And it looks like they're going to exit with the SUV. So he's not going to exit on the bus this time. It looks like he's going to exit on the SUV. And please hold your ears. Seriously, hold your ears. There's State Representative Brett Cox, which I know very well. And I've said on the broadcast, I don't dislike Brett Cox. He endorsed Rick Jackson. That's up to him. Our sources tell us there's a lot of pressure right now on all state representatives to endorse Rick Jackson. There is Representative Brett Cox going back in, which leads me to believe the SUV has moved. The SUV has moved. They're backing the SUV to the door. I'm going to say something, and for the haters and the uglies, get ready. Get your haters and uglies ready. This is the most coward thing I have seen. I have seen other things. I'm not going to bring the names up. I've been covering politics. I've seen politicians run for the car and jump in and hide. I've seen all of that before. And it didn't work out. I will tell you, one politician that I was set up wanting to talk to one time that had a U.S. senator come in and help campaign, ran and snuck in the car and left. By the way, that individual did not win their election. But so we are waiting here for the uglies. Mr. Jackson! Mr. Jackson! Why are you sneaking out? Why are you sneaking out? Why are you avoiding us? Why are you avoiding us? So I told you he was going to get in the SUV and leave. I told you that. I told you they were going to exit and leave, okay? And this says a lot about this campaign. They want to control the narrative. He is exiting now, as you can see. He's probably going to exit to the right. That is where I doubt he's going to come past us with the camera. So I don't see his SUV coming this way. Give it like two, there it is. Give it two more sections, and it is coming this way. So, can you see that? There's Rick Jackson sneaking out in an SUV. There you go. And State Representative Brett Cox. I'm going to... So you see it there, right? He knows I'm there. This is for the uglies out there, this is the most cowardly thing. Now, if you've stayed this long, and I hope you have, you've yet to hear my question, right? I'm going to show you my question. Because you got to understand, when I go to Banks County, I don't live there. I love Banks County. I love my friends. When I go to Jackson County, I don't live there. This guy is actually in the two counties that, I lived in Gilmer for 18, and then I just crossed the line into Fannin. But this area right here is really important to us. So, and I was going as local media, and I was going to ask a question as local media that we need to hear up here. Yeah, get ready. We need to know up here where I live and you live, for the haters that want to know what he's going to do as governor. All right? We'll get to that momentarily. So, as you can see, there's the SUV, and there he is leaving. And if I could take a picture of him leaving, he could see that I'm leaving. Now, I don't know this lady very well. I'm not going to be ugly about it. But this is, Jackson likes to poach. He's a poacher. He is a poacher. That Jackson's, run, Ricky, run. Run, Ricky, run, 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 Ricky. I'm sorry. I don't know what happens. I do not know what happens. I don't know. It just does. It takes over me. Yo, Ricky! Yo, Ricky! Yo! Yo, Ricky! Back here, baby. You ain't got to go. Anyhow, moving right along. Whew. So I don't know this lady here. Her name's Jade. And this is a picture of her as she was stabbing Blake Tillery in the back. Blake Tillery's running for lieutenant governor, and she is working for Blake Tillery's campaign, much like Brian Robinson's working for Chris Carr's campaign. And he's a poacher. I do not know what he made as her salary, but she said, Blake, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. And there she is. She's having a coffee. So, I mean, maybe she went straight and got her a coffee. She got a new job. I'm just saying. Now, this guy, he's a tough guy. I mean, I'm serious. He's a tough guy. You wait till they're gonna get it. You wait till I get there. So this guy says, I'll take on bureaucrats, the media, and the rest of the political cartel, and I'm grateful that so many hardworking Georgians have my back. But he's going to take on the media. Now, listen to this video. This is one of the most cowardly things, and I'm not joking, that I have ever witnessed this campaign. Now, you remember the guy in the boom mic? I showed you the boom mic, right? You remember that guy? This is how they make this, and this is what they're running everywhere they go. And I'm going to show you, so stay with me here.
Happens when a true outsider steps into Washington.
Rick Jackson's not full of crap like some of the other politicians.
He's the man of his word.
Someone who takes on the bureaucrats, takes on the media.
Like Trump, Rick doesn't back down.
He can't be bothered.
The establishment hated Trump because they couldn't control it. They'll hate me for the same reason.
He's tired of dishonest politicians. No BS about him.
The insiders are going to hate Rick.
And I can't wait.
Rick Jackson for Georgia. Okay. So winners this week.
All right. So Rick Jackson. Now, the people you see in there, he's a man of his word. That damn Rick, he no BS about that damn Rick now. That damn Rick, he won't BS you. Man, you wait till he gets there. So they got the boom mic guy, right? He's the boom mic guy, and they come out and they say these little things. And then he's got the Rick Jackson backup, and they line you up like he's President Trump. I've been to a Trump event, right? And where every time you get a picture with him, you got to be in front of the Jackson backdrop. That's what he does. So every single thing's produced. This is as false and a campaign fraud Hollywood production as I've ever. In fact, he should get a tax credit. He should get a tax credit for producing so many films in Georgia. He should get the Georgia tax credit with what he's paying and what he's doing. But those people, that's where the boom mic guy is. And they immediately go out and they start releasing and they put music behind it. And it's very well produced. Very well produced. So, but he's going to keep that in mind. He's going to take on the media. Now, I am going to expose some other things this week. All right. Now, I won't ask him what his favorite ice cream is. I've offered all the opportunities in the world to talk with him politely. All right. He's in healthcare. Give him a chance to talk one-on-one with you, the voters. But, you know, he will go on some programs and he will do local newspaper that's just going to ask him, why are you running for office? Were you sitting there one day and just said, I plan to save Georgia? Wow, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. How many children do you have? How many grandchildren do you have? That's amazing. Are you the kind of grandpa that put together the swing set in the backyard? Is that the kind of guy you are? Is that who we can expect as governor? Oh, that's just amazing. It just is. What color car do you drive? Oh, so you like a red car. Oh, that's just amazing. And your favorite fruit? Serenity now, serenity now, serenity now. So, I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to break this down later, okay? So, remember Remember last week that John King, insurance commissioner, John King, endorsed Rick Jackson. So there's a couple things. John King, when Jim Beck was sent to prison, or insurance commissioner, Brian Kemp appointed John King to be the insurance commissioner. John King speaks Spanish. I think he's from Cuba. I don't want to mess it up. He's our insurance commissioner. John King stepped out and said, hey, I'm going to run for Senate. I'm going to be your next senator. Kemp basically told him, said, no, you're not. No, you're not. I got the dually waiting in the backdrop. You go back to insurance commissioner. I'll let you know when I want to hear from you. I'm serious. That's the way Kemp is. All right. So Jackson gets new endorsement in bruising GOP race for Georgia governor. So why would John King step out? Now, he's running for office, right? It's unusual you do this before the primary's over. It's okay. Well, why would he step out? And how many people are in the loop? And who's in the know? And how tied is it, right? So here is the kind of media that Jackson will do. Jackson, governor, joins, why, there it is, Martha Zoller. Martha Zoller. I'm on the phone with Martha. Right? Now, I don't know that Martha is directly being paid by the Jackson campaign. I don't know that. I don't know how much the Jackson campaign is spending with her media company. And for a disclaimer, anyone could call and spend money with our media company. You could do that tomorrow. All right? But I don't know how much. But he will go on this show, right? So, yesterday, John King, right? The Georgia gang, get ready to wrap this up here. Listen to this.
Okay. So winners this week, Insurance Commissioner John King. I mean, went out on a limb. He endorsed Rick Jackson, and I love when people take chances like that. So I'm going to make him a winner. I'm not necessarily supporting the outcome, but I'm going to make him a winner for that. And
politics we must not forget too. That's very important. Rick Jackson is having to.
I'm going to make John King a winner. Don't you find that? I mean, is it just me? Is it just me? I mean, I don't know. I mean, last week, John King endorses Rick Jackson. Then Rick, he's over there, he's over there with Martha. And then Martha makes John King her winner of the week because he had the courage. I like someone that steps out on a limb. A limb. And she ought to like me. But I think, what did she say? She went on the Georgia Gang one day when I ran for office and said that I had a sketchy or a checkered. I don't remember. I had a questionable, sketchy, checkered. I have a questionable or sketchy something. Wow. Okay, so Rick Jackson, Martha Zoller. I'm showing you how it's all broke down. They're all in the tank, folks. They're all in the tank. These fish are all swimming in the same tank. I'm going to break down some more stuff this week. Now, here's the bottom line. Somebody asked me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this, right? And as I said, I'm going to show you something. You know, right? You know Chris Carr. You know Burt Jones. You know Brad Raffensperger. I have years on this program, years of video Chris Carr, years of video Brad Raffensperger, years of video with Burt Jones. Years. And it's not all flattering. For the most part, it's not. Years, it's all there. But you know what? I think it's important that you and I know Rick Jackson. I think that's important. That you don't let him just buy every TV commercial, buy these things in your mailbox. You see, if I don't show up at Jackson County or Banks County, if I don't show up at Banks County, he gets away with this stuff. Outsider Rick Jackson vows to be President Trump's favorite governor. You see, Rick Jackson, Donald Trump was never Trumper. Donald Trump was never Rick Jackson's favorite candidate. But now he claims he's going to be President Trump's favorite governor. But Trump was never his favorite candidate. And then you have this right here. Rick Jackson, Donald Trump's partner. Okay? And, okay. But see, if I don't do this, you just get this stuff in the mail. You don't know this guy. Right? And this is important. This is in the AJC. Right here. Georgia election officials have no idea how to run elections after July. What's going to happen? Is Rick Jackson on the campaign trail saying, look, he will say, Burt Jones did not accomplish, right? He doesn't say John Burns in the House. He doesn't say Governor Brian Kemp. He says Burt Jones did not accomplish. Okay, that's who he's running against. Got it. He doesn't say, John Burns did not accomplish. Brian Kemp could have demanded. Hey, Brian Kemp could have called Burt Jones and John Burns and say, look, the people of Georgia are not going to pay for a special session. They're not going to pay to turn on all the lights, bring in all the media people that work everything. bring in the clerk, the House clerk, the entire staff. No one is paying for that out of the taxpayer money. Because on one hand, they're going to cut your property tax, and I'm going to talk to you about that this week also. Cut your property tax. On the other hand, what are they going to do? They're going to cut property tax. They're going to cut state sales tax. They're going to do all these things. Why would they spend your money for a special session? I don't know what it cost right off the bat. I say that. I do not know what it cost right off the bat. But it's not cheap. So why doesn't Rick Jackson say, Brian Kemp, you should have called Burns and Burt Jones, and all three of you should have gotten in the office the day. Remember the last day of the legislative session when Kemp went to the House and went to the Senate? It should have said right then, you will not leave here tonight without this done. But you know what? There's election officials all over the state, and the next governor of Georgia will pick our next election system, right? Those questions were brought up in Banks County. They actually made this man angry. They did. So, now, see, Brad Raffensperger, he's going to cut your taxes, right? So someone went on one of my posts. It said I was being vindictive. And I thought, well, I better go look at the definition. Vindictive is an adjective. Well, first, that throws me. You know how I get on adjectives and pronouns and verbs. You know how I am, right? Vindictive is an adjective used to describe a person who has a strong, often unreasonable desire for revenge. What revenge do I have on Rick Jackson? Right? Someone who is vindictive doesn't just feel hurt. They are actively inclined to get even or harm others. What? I mean, how is any of this vindictive? That's what was said. BKP is a vindictive person. Okay, I'll go for that. Now, let's get to my question. So, Rick Jackson visit Fannin County. Right? Saturday. And he visited Gilmer County Sunday. Now, Gilmer County does not have a hospital. They don't have a hospital. The people of Gilmer County have to go to Piedmont and Jasper. It's not too bad. All right? Now, Piedmont in Gilmer County, they built an emergency room that's not bad. I did go there for my broken arm. I did. So it's not terrible. But Gilmer County had a hospital. It went bankrupt. Several reasons. One of the reasons, this is several years ago, one of the reasons is indigent care. The amount of indigent care, rural hospitals. Do you know what that is? Someone walks in, they can't A, pay, they don't have insurance, B, but you got to have them there. They run up $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 bill, whatever it is, emergency room, stitches, in there 4 days, surgeries, can't pay. Indigent care. Hospital can't get it. One of the reasons your insurance is hospitals have to be able to charge enough over here to try to sustain and outdo indigent care. The balance can't be off. Gilmer County doesn't have a hospital. It closed. Now, you might not be able to read this on the screen, but Gilmer County is where Rick Jackson was yesterday, that he wouldn't let me in. Now, in this area for real voters, he is Jackson Healthcare. We need to know something about rural hospitals, what the plan is, what's going to happen, right? So here is number Fannin Regional Hospital. Rick Jackson is at Fannin County Saturday. Fannin County Regional Hospital in Blue Ridge, Georgia is considered at risk of reducing services or closing, alongside other Georgia rural hospitals due to long-term financial instability, including negative margins and high Medicaid dependence. While the hospital was acquired in 2023 by Java Medical Group, it continues to face significant financial pressures. Key factors: persistent losses. Reports in 2025 indicate that Fannin Regional Hospital had experienced 3 consecutive years of negative total margins. Indigent care, 3 years in a row. High risk status. The hospital is cited as one of rural Georgia's facilities most at risk of having to cut services or entirely closing. Now, Rick Jackson, he stands up in front of the people in Fannin County and he says, I'm going to freeze your property tax. Oh, that's just amazing. That's amazing. Right? We'll talk about that. I'm going to get into detail. I'm tired of the property tax, okay? I'm totally out to here, right here with it. But no, he's standing in the county that this is very true. We don't know at any time if this hospital is going to close. And the services are very poor. We're not knocking the hospital because it's underfunded, all right? It's at risk. It's one of rural Georgia's top facilities at risk of having to close. Operating pressures. The hospital has been described as a Medicare-dependent hospital with a high Medicaid payer mix, putting it under high financial strain. Medicaid, indigent care. Prior bankruptcy, the previous owner, Quantum Health Corporation, filed for bankruptcy in 2020. Now, Jackson with the traveling nurses, Jackson Healthcare, and what happened to the cost of labor at hospitals, especially rural hospitals, that they can't sustain. So I want to know from Rick Jackson, if you're the next governor, right? You're in Fannin County, 5 miles from where you're at. The hospital's about ready to close. You were in Gilmer County yesterday. No hospital. I mean, how bad is this question? The guy's Jackson Healthcare. How bad is this question? Is this a gotcha question? Is this something you shouldn't ask the next possible governor of the state of Georgia in an area where you live? Is this something where all these people are retired up here in the woods? Is this something we should not ask? Tell me. And I got thrown out. And this is the newspaper guy. Don't forget, this is the newspaper guy. And don't forget, this is how far that the closest I could get in my third shot that the Jackson campaign put me out of this event. Period. Don't forget it. Now, if you're sitting here today and this does not bother you, right? Of the control that this campaign is trying to put over the people and trying to control the information you get. If this guy was to become governor, control the information that you get. Because you see the hard-hitting question I had yesterday. And I'll tell you another thing. I was going to walk up to him and say, Mr. Jackson, when the opportunity presents it, I'd like to talk to you a little more about freezing property tax and how that can be done, and maybe what is stopping us from reducing property tax. Oh my God, how dare me, right? I'm going to close with this. The place was open for business. You understand? The place was open for business. The light was on. People were purchasing barbecue. The register was open. It was never listed as private. It was never listed as RSVP RSVP only. It was never listed as a closed media event. Other media was in the room. It's what he does not want you to know. It's what he does not want you to know. It's what he does not want you to find out. Period. Now, someone posted, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, someone posted a picture. I went to the corporate palace, but someone posted a picture of the palace where he lives. And I'm a capitalist. I don't have a problem with it. But I'm going to explain some things tomorrow about that. And I wonder how many, and just so you know, I sent the campaign a message. I did. I sent Brian Robinson a message. It's public. Let's see if I could read it here. Oh, Lord, help me. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Political, all right, what is it? Let's see. Is Charlie out there? I was going to see if Charlie was here. If Charlie was here, I was going to let you see him because I promised everybody, hang tight, hang tight. Let's see. I wrote this to Brian Robinson yesterday in his campaign. I think we both know how many times I politely asked for a meeting with Mr. Jackson, even to be told something was being worked on. So I'm requesting now a statement from the campaign on whether I'm barred from all Jackson events. If I go to a Jackson event, will I be barred from the event? I want a statement that's from the campaign. And once again, don't forget, I tried to get a meeting with this gentleman to see if I could clear the air on some things. And I was polite. Now, I was never going to keep anything from you. I just was going to look at him, and say, hey, there's some things that we're going to have to address as this campaign goes on. So go to our Substack, Vora. Now, for yesterday, go to Facebook, voiceofruralamerica.com. There's 3 parts. One is 30 minutes, one is 20 minutes, one is 15 minutes. Okay? And don't forget, no campaign. I was not paid by any campaign, none whatsoever. You can purchase advertising on Voice of Rural America, our network here. But you cannot buy a narrative. You can't do it. And your campaign does not ensure that I cover something in a positive way. It doesn't do it. That being said. But if you want to go to our Substack, Vora, VORA, BKP at BKP Politics, and see what all the hubbub was about last week, go ahead. All right, I'm going to be out. I will see you tomorrow. Waiting to see if... I'm not going to the Rome event tonight just because I'm exhausted from the weekend and my 2 yesterday, and I'm working on this today. But I will go to the next Jackson event, and I'm waiting for their answer. And yeah, hey, Phil Kent. Phil Kent said yesterday on the Georgia Gang, here's what Phil Kent said on the Georgia Gang yesterday. I wish someone would ask, this is what he said, I wish someone would ask Rick Jackson, if he's not the nominee, will he support the nominee? I think it's time to find out, will you support the Republican nominee, regardless if it's you or not, right? That's what I think. Okay, until we meet again.
What happens in Georgia gets revealed one by one as the facts are unsealed. From the pit comes what they don't want you to see. When the daily nugget of truth is dropped with your host, BKP.
The left is siding with illegals, attacking ICE, and fighting to let non-citizens vote. Republican Kelvin King is a graduate of the Air Force Academy, Air Force veteran, and conservative businessman. As Georgia's Secretary of State, Kelvin will put Americans first, root out corruption, clean up voter rolls, and restore confidence in our elections. The other candidates had their chance and failed. Republican Kelvin King for Secretary of State, leadership Georgia voters can trust.
Pro-Trump warrior Steve Gooch won't just cut property taxes, he'll throw them straight in the wood chipper.
Frankly, these crazy property taxes are un-American. I'll tear them to shreds.
Steve Gooch for Lieutenant Governor, toughest tax cutter Georgia's ever seen.